Know that 80% of all adults in the United States say that they want to write a book one day? 80%. That's 8 out of every 10 people say that they want to write a book one day. They have the desire to write a book. They have a hope and a dream and a wish, right? But those of us that have been around long enough, we know that a hope and a dream and a wish is not the same thing as doing it. When it comes to those folks who actually get it done, they're in the top 1%. So out of 100 people, one person out of that 100 people actually gets around to actually finishing their book. I know. I couldn't believe it when I read it. I was like, what? That can't be true. Oh, but it can. I had a masterclass last night, and there were 10 people that signed up. There were 3 people who stayed for part of it, and then 2 people that stayed for the whole time. So there we go. 10, right? We started with 10 as the number of people that signed up. And then 3 people came into the room. So that's 30% right there. And then 2 people stayed until the very end. So there it is. You got 20% of the people stayed to hear what I had to say about becoming an author. And that's just the way the world works. Lots of people say they want something. They think about it. They fantasize about it. It sounds really good. But then when it comes to putting the foot to the pedal, putting the pedal to the metal, people just drop off like flies. And it happens. I've got my window open. It's a beautiful sunny day. There's a lot of fresh air coming in. So you are going to hear the traffic. You are going to hear all the noise that's out there because it is what it is. And so let's get into this. I want to talk to you about the ABCs of writing your first book. I help people write their first book, and I help them write it the right way. So if they decide to write another book, they'll know the process, right? I have a 5-step framework, which I call WRAPS, WRAPS, which stands for writing, revising, announcing, publishing, and selling. And out of all 5 of those steps, do you know what the most difficult steps are? It's actually not publishing. Publishing the book is not hard. It takes maybe 2 days or 3 days to publish a book, okay? The parts that are hard are the beginning and the end, right? It's like the hamburger, like the hamburger 5-paragraph essay. You got the buns and then everything else in between. The first part of the process is the W, that's the writing. The writing is the hardest part. And the second hardest part is the bottom, which is the selling. People have a very, very, very hard time selling the book because it's hard for them to talk about it. Writing the book can be a lonely, very, very lonely, isolating experience, right? But when you're selling the book, you're all of a sudden supposed to pop out and become this super social, extroverted person who's able to talk to everybody, right? And so there's that huge jump from going from being alone and then focused and in your head and with the paper to being out into the world saying, hey, I wrote something. Check it out, right? Most of the time, authors don't even think about marketing or sales until the book is already done because they say, well, I can't sell something until I have the book in my hand. And that is not true. It feels true. It feels like that's actually accurate. That's actually factual. But that's not actually factual. People pay for things all the time, without having a physical, tangible product in hand. How many of you have ever bought a concert ticket? Do you buy the ticket first, or does the concert happen first? The concert doesn't happen until after you buy the ticket, and oftentimes it doesn't happen until 6 months or 8 months or 12 months after you've bought the ticket. And what happens if it needs to get canceled? Then of course those people get a refund, but sometimes they don't. And so as an author, you have to begin to think about, you have to begin to shift your mindset, and you have to begin to think about pre-selling. And so I got this question a couple of weeks ago in one of my workshops, and it was, when is the best time to start selling your book? And one of the participants in the group said, as soon as you start writing it, right? And my answer is, as soon as you get the idea in your mind. You want to start putting out surveys. You want to start having conversations. You want to start listening to people inside of Facebook groups, and you want to start asking questions. As soon as you get the idea from a book, you want to know two things. There's two things I want you to think about. As soon as the idea pops into your head, who are the people who might be interested in this book, and will they pay you for it? Right? That's called market research. That's called market research. You got to do the research. You got to get out there and find out, what is it that people will pay you for? Okay. All right. So let's get into these ABCs of writing your first book. So there's A, B, and C. I love breaking things down with numbers and letters and acronym and phrases and nicknames and all these cute things, because you actually do remember the information. And that comes from my teacher brain. I was a high school history teacher / English teacher / social studies teacher. And I did spend one summer teaching first grade with students with autism. And that was the best summer of my life, because it made me become more expansive, and it opened my eyes to all of the ways that you must differentiate for different learners. And so that was a wonderful summer. It was an amazing experience. And I've taken that experience into the coaching that I do today with my clients. I help people with their books. I help them write books, edit, format, publish, beta test, sell, everything from start to finish. And what I have learned throughout my practice of 7 years, I have learned that every author is unique, but yet the same. Every author has a different genre, a different topic, different categories. But the process that we go through is the same. The 5-step framework that I take people through is the same. And it is the same process for book number 1 and book number 3 and book number 15. It doesn't matter what book you're on. If you learn the process, you will know how to be effective and successful in your writing career. So let's get into this. ABC. The A stands for authority, okay? When you become an author, you become an authority. What is an authority? An authority is someone who speaks out on a specific topic. How can they speak out? Because they are knowledgeable, they are aware, they have a certain mindset that gives them an advantage over most people, because they've been practicing the craft. They've been putting in their 10,000 hours, 20,000 hours, right? They've been doing what it is that they've been doing for a long time. So when you write a book, it should be about something that you are an authority on, okay? If you're writing a personal story, which could be a memoir about you, then of course you are the authority of your story. But here's the problem with that. There are only certain people that are actually going to resonate and connect with your story. And then after they read it, they're probably not likely to refer it or review it or do anything beyond read it, if you can even get them to read it, right? Your personal story doesn't really become super profitable until you become famous. So if you have a memoir or something autobiographical, I'm going to tell you to put that on the shelf, leave that on the shelf until after you have established yourself in an industry to where you have a name that's large enough to where people will actually care about your memoir or your autobiography. Okay. That type of book is called Leaving a Legacy for Your Family, right? Telling your own personal story. There are parts of your professional story that people will absolutely pay you for. And that leads to the B. Okay. So A is for authority. B is for become a business. Okay. Become a business. There was a study taken back in 2006, and it was a survey. It was a study of a group of business owners. And they asked the business owners, okay, do you have a book? Some said yes, some said no. Okay. Of those that said yes, was that book helpful to you in growing, expanding, and really getting your business to where you want it to be? 96% of those business owners said yes. My book gave me an advantage over everyone else in the industry because it allowed my clients to find me. Okay. And so B is become the business. You want your book to put out your message, to put out the part of your story that solves a problem for other people. So, for example, let me tell you about the biggest mistake that I made in my journey. My biggest mistake was that my first book was an autobiography. It was about me. It was about my life, my story, what I had been through. And it was successful for the first year because the people in my community wanted to buy it, and they bought it, and they came to my house when I had my launch party, and they asked me questions for 4 hours, and we had a great time, and there was music and food, and I sold lots of copies, and it was great. But after that 12-month period, no one was interested in my book anymore because it was about me. Okay. That was the biggest mistake of my author career, because after a while, people get tired of reading about you. And it was so interesting because what turned the light bulb on for me was one of my colleagues, who was also a teacher in the same community, just at a different school. She said, okay, that was a great book. I'm glad you wrote it. She said, but when are you going to write your next book? And I was like, what? I was like, do you not understand? I'm like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand how long it took me to come out with that book. You don't understand the process that I went through. And her question was very matter of fact. Like, she was like, she's somebody who's just straight up and direct. She's like, yeah, okay, whatever. When are you coming out with your next book? And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, she put me on the spot. But what that did was that shifted my thinking, and it said, oh, wait, if you could write one book, you absolutely could write another book. And it wasn't that I actually needed to write another book. I just needed to write the right book. And so that's what I'm going to be breaking down for you. I'm going to be teaching you, showing you. I'm going to be walking you through my process and helping you come up with the right topic for your audience. See, because my audience didn't really want me to tell them the story about my life, right? It was like 112 pages. I could have summed that up in 3. What my audience really wanted to know was, okay, how do I write my own book? Can you teach me that? That was what they wanted from me. And I was like, wow, okay. So if I would have known that, I would have made my first book, the book that I actually wrote, book number 5. It was book number 5. I had written 5 books until I figured out that there was really only one book that was the money maker. And that was the book that teaches people how to write and publish and sell a book. So that took me years to figure out. I don't want that for you. I want you to write the right book the first time. And that's why I specialize in helping people write the first book, because I want you to get it right the first time. I want you to write about the right topic. I want you to sell it to the right people. And I want those people to refer you. I want those people to share with other people. I want them to write reviews. And what motivates and inspires people to do all of those actions? Because you're asking a lot of people, right? But if you serve people at a high level and you solve the problems that they want to be solved, then you will absolutely be able to ask them to write a review, and they will write it with no problem. You'll be able to get that person to refer the book to someone else, or even buy multiple books. I recently went online, and one of my favorite authors was online. She actually is a businesswoman, a coach, and an author. She just became an author. She just wrote her second book. And so the first book she wrote was really good. I didn't get an opportunity to buy it because it just happened so fast. This book is actually a workbook, and I'm glad I bought it. I bought it right away because she announced on her Instagram that she was going to be showing up at a certain location, and that you can buy the books ahead of time and come on in and participate in a Q&A. And so I was like, oh, I got to do this. But the thing that I love about her marketing campaign, and it was brilliant, the fact that she said, all right, you got to buy 2 books to get in. So you pay $55 for 2 books, and you get 1 admission ticket to come into the event. And so I bought 2 books, called my mama. I said, Mom, we're going to an event. I already bought you a book. Mark your calendar, save the date. And I was like, wow, now that was smart marketing. That was smart. She went on Instagram. She announced it. She had a book bundle thing going on to where you buy 2 books. Super, super smart. I love her content on Instagram. I watch all of her videos. Well, not all of them, but a lot of her videos. If she has a challenge, or if she has an event, a workshop, or whatever, I try to be there. This is going to be the first time I'm going to be able to see her in person. And so I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. I need to take massive notes from what she just did, right? Like, there's not a doubt that I'm actually going to go and review the book. Okay, without a doubt, I'm going to read the book. I'm going to give my mom one of the books. I'll probably buy more of her books, and I'll probably give them away to other people, because the message and the story resonates with me so deeply that I am going to make sure that everybody that I know who needs the message gets it. And so I'm one of those super fans, and I also have super fans where, because I've served people and I've helped so many people with this process, whenever I share my knowledge in the form of a book, or even a blog post, or even an online course, the people who are the most closely impacted by my work, they have no problem writing a testimonial for me, no problem going live and doing a case study with me, no problem showing up to a workshop or a masterclass webinar, wherever I am teaching, because they know that what I'm teaching them is helping them create a transformation in their life. And it's making a difference with their family, with their job, with their church mates, with their whole life overall. And so that's what I want you to think about when you become an author. I want you to plan this out. This is a strategy, okay? I want you to think about who are the people that you are going to serve at the highest level. Who is the person that you could work with and get the absolute best results in the world? Because you could try to work with everybody. Some people say, oh, my book is for everyone. Lie. Oh, everybody should read my book. Lie. Right? I can say everybody should read the Bible. I read the Bible. My friends read the Bible, but not everybody in the world is going to read the Bible. So if not everybody in the world is going to read the Bible, what in the world makes you think that everybody needs to read your book? I mean, come on. There's only a certain group of people that are actually interested in reading what you have to say. Okay? So let's talk about this. We talked about A, which is authority. We talked about B, which is become a business owner. C, go collect your clients. Okay, so those are the ABCs. Now, what do I mean by go collect your clients? So the people who read your book are going to be interested in what's on the pages of the book, and that's fine. But the people who are deeply impacted and influenced by your book, those people are not only going to be your customers and your readers, but they may possibly turn into clients, which means that they're going to ask you, they might ask you, do you have a coaching program? I remember when I first wrote my first book in 2017, I was flabbergasted at the amount of people who bought the book. First of all, because I was praying, I was like, I hope nobody really buys the book, because this was just something that was on my heart that I felt like I needed to put out. And I felt like I felt like I was pregnant for 12 years and I was so uncomfortable. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get this book out. So when it came out and people started buying it, I was so appreciative. I probably only sold maybe 200 copies within the first 12 months. But for me, that was a win-win-win, because I went from selling nothing, not having a book at all, to selling about 200 copies. The next year, I sold about another 100 copies. And that was pretty much it. It was probably like 300 copies. And I honestly really didn't even keep track until like year 4. Because I was like, wait a minute, like at some point I need to be putting this somewhere on my taxes or something. And so I didn't think about it until it was already late, but hey, better late than never. And by that time, I was already writing my 3rd book. And so this whole author thing was so bizarre, because I just was exploring my ideas, expressing myself, sharing my ideas, and people were actually excited about what I had to say. And so that taught me something, because I didn't realize how much wisdom, knowledge, and expertise I had from all the years of reading and studying and working through school and getting my 4 degrees and becoming a teacher and learning how to parent. I was even reading books on parenting when I was pregnant. I read that book, What to Expect When You're Expecting, and that gave me a huge insight into how to raise my children. Then I read this book, before I had children, I read this book called Jump in the Broom. And that was all about conversations that you need to have before you get married, right? And so every stage and phase of my life, I would go to the library and I would read as a practice, just for fun, because I've always loved to read. And so all of that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding came out in my first book, and people recognized it like, wow, these are some powerful insights. One of my coworkers was like, this is a very important book. And I was like, what? What does that mean? She ended up quoting me, and she ended up studying me as a case study for her psychology class, because I talked about my diagnosis of bipolar. I talked about my journey through depression and trying to succeed in a teaching career and raising children and having multiple side hustles, right? While trying to just live and be a human being and manage depression. So that was what my first book was about. And she was deeply moved by that because she was going through the same thing, something very similar. And then she was taking a class, which I told her because we worked together, and I always encouraged her and inspired her to go back to school, finish that degree, get that shift in your career, pivot, get a different job, because we used to talk about this. And there were days when we just honestly didn't want to go to work. And so what I would do is I would coach myself and inspire myself and give myself a motivational speech. And then I would give her a whole motivational speech. And so when she found out I wrote a book, she got it right away. And she's like, I need to interview you for this class. And I was like, no problem. She's all, we're studying depression. I need to talk to someone who is overcoming and managing depression. I need to talk to somebody who has been through a lot and they're still standing, they're still thriving. And I was like, oh yeah, that's me. Come interview me, no problem. So she interviewed me. She put the information out in the paper. She graduated. She went on to pursue another career. And she told me before we shifted gears and ended up leaving each other, she said, this is a very important book. And I was just like, wow. So I'm glad I wrote it, but it actually was not the first book that I should have written first. And here's why. I started getting lots of questions after I wrote that book. And I really didn't pay attention to what people were asking me. And I was really resistant. Listen up. I was really resistant to people asking me questions, and I was really blocking myself, and I was getting in my own way, and I was saying no to opportunities that should have been yes. And I was saying yes to other things that really should have been a no. Raise your hand if you've ever done that. If you've ever said no to the things that should have been a yes, and yes to the things that should have been a no. There was a lot of that going on. And so when that person came to me and said, well, when are you going to write another book? I was like, well, what should I write a book about, right? And I just remember thinking and reflecting and just really being confused and really just frustrated because I didn't know where to go for guidance. I didn't know anyone who was a publisher or a coach or an expert in the writing space. I didn't know anyone who was a professional writer. This was 2017. All I had was YouTube and Google and a couple of blogs and a few people who here and there popped up on Facebook and were talking about writing. But really, there was no course or program or conference or anything that I could go to learn how to do this. And so I just started doing research myself, and I started thinking about what people were asking me, and people were constantly asking me, how did you do that? How did you write a book? And I was like, oh, then the light bulb went on. Light bulb. Why don't you create some kind of an online course so people can go and learn the process? Why don't you write down the process that you took to actually get the book done? And so I started creating an online course, and this was during 2020. So we were doing homeschool / Zoom school, and it was so interesting what happened, because as I was creating the online course and I was recording modules, putting videos together, making worksheets, and just getting all organized, people were coming to me and they were asking me literally if I could walk them through the process. And so I was like, okay, so I put the course out. I got a couple people into the course. They went through the course, but they really didn't get the kind of results that I wanted them to get. Like it wasn't really phenomenal. So I was like, what am I going to do? So I abandoned that for a second. I said, I'm not going to do the course. I'm just going to go back and start writing more books. Then I started listening to someone who gave me some really bad advice. And this was one of my mentors. I still follow his work on YouTube. But what he was saying was, he was teaching how to create a business through publishing books. And he's like, yeah, well, you don't really make any money until you get up to your fifth book. And I'm like, my fifth book? I was like, I'm on book number 3 and I'm exhausted. But I listened to what he said because I just didn't know any better. And I was like, all right, I got to keep plugging away. So I got to write book number 4 and book number 5. And finally, ding, 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 book number 5. So I guess there was some truth in what he was saying. Book number 5 is my money maker. It started out 2021, I believe, is when I released this book. So it's been out for 3 years. And it is the book that is basically the curriculum for my online course. So I stopped selling the online course. I didn't need it anymore. Because what I realized is people didn't want the online course. They wanted me. They wanted the book to go home and to read, and they wanted me so they could come and ask questions. And so that's what got me to create a whole coaching program using the curriculum inside of my book. And so that's what I do today. I help people write their book in 90 days or less with minimal stress. I help them do it quickly and easily using my 5-step framework. And we go through it step by step by step. And I break it all the way down kindergarten style, so that literally anybody can publish a book. You can give it to a first grader and they could read my book. It's that simple, and they can go and create their own book. In fact, I have a client who used my framework to teach her daughter how to publish a book, and her daughter's in 4th grade. She was in 4th grade. She started at 9 years old, and she published a book for 3rd graders. And so literally, this is the basis of what I do. I break publishing down so simple that you don't have any more excuses why you can't put out a book. And I've had clients put out a book in 90 days, 60 days, 20 days, and 5 days. Yes. So there is no excuse about I don't have time, because when I started writing, I was teaching full-time high school history. I had 3 daughters, one in elementary, one in middle, and one in high school. So one was driving and another one was riding a bike. Okay. And my middle one is an elite athlete. So we were driving her all around, going to different competitions, going here, going there. And so there is no excuse about being too busy. There is no excuse about being distracted. I have a ton of resources to help you get focused, including a guided meditation. I've covered all of it, everything. I've eliminated every excuse that anyone can ever say on why they can't get a book done. There is no excuse. Okay. So if you've been thinking about it, you've been fantasizing about it, you've been talking about it, other people have been talking about it, you've been talking on stage and people ask you as soon as you get off stage, do you have a book? This is confirmation. You don't need any more confirmation other than this. So if you know that you know that you know that I know that you know that I'm talking to you, type that word challenge in the comments, and I'll send you the link so you can get into my class, which is coming up on June 3rd. And I'm going to be teaching you how to get your book done in a week. I said that. And my clients have done that. So stop procrastinating, stop hesitating, stop waiting, and type the word challenge. Matter of fact, I need to fix my little ticker here because it's supposed to look a different way. So let me fix this for you. so y'all don't have an excuse. Yeah, let me fix this. Those of you who know that you know it's time. Type the word challenge, and I want it to look like this. Here we go. So I know that you're serious. This is how I want it to look. And it's going to scroll across the bottom in a second. Boom. Whoop, there it is. Whoop, there it is. Type the word challenge because I want you to join me and my clients, because I have several clients that love to take this challenge. They do it over and over and over again just to see how fast they can get a book done. Because once you do one, it just rolls down the hill. Okay, so let's go back over these ABCs. So you learned that you want to write your book about something that you're already an expert at, because then you're gonna have the authority to dominate your industry. Okay, so the A stands for authority. I want you to speak with authority, and you can't speak with authority if you're talking about something that you don't know. Okay, so I want you to speak with authority. I want you to write a book about something that you already know. Okay, and then the letter B stands for become a business. Okay, and if you already have a business, the book is just going to help you expand, because the book is an extra product that's going to be something that you can sell. Okay, it's the gift that keeps on giving, because you can give your book away as a gift. You can give it away as a raffle prize. You can donate it to a organization or a school, depending on what your book is about, or you can just sell it. Okay. Now, letter C is collect your clients. You want to make your book available in certain spaces and places so that you develop a relationship with those people who read it and love it and buy it. And these are all things that I'm going to be teaching you in my class starting on June 3rd through the 7th. I'm going to be breaking all of this down for you. I'm going to be sharing with you how to walk through my 5-step framework, how to get it done quickly, how to write the right book. Because I don't want you to do what I did and write the memoir first. Don't write the memoir first. Don't do that. I should have written the memoir way later. Matter of fact, I still should have written it because I wrote it and it was on my computer, but I should not have published it until later on, because it's really not relevant. If you think about it, I've got 8 different books. So people can come to me to learn about parenting, because I have a book on parenting. I have a book on teaching. I have a book on self-care. I have a book on my memoir. And then I have a book about writing books, right? And the thing that's in my blood that sets me apart from everybody else in my industry is that I love books. I've been reading books since I was 3. I've been writing since I was 12, entering poetry competitions, loving research papers. Like everybody in school would complain about the research paper. And I was like, ooh, I can't wait. I'm all jazzed up, right? And then college essays, man, I would write other people's essays because I just love it. I was like, I just love the written word. I would write articles and blog posts, and I'm a writer. So I love to write, and I love to help other people write better, right? So get into this challenge, because I'm going to help you get your mind all the way right so you can write right. All right? That's all I have to share with you today. I hope that I see you soon. I want to see you typing the word challenge. Those of you that are watching this on the replay, thank you so much. I appreciate you. You could be anywhere in the world on any channel at any time, but you came to see me on LTTV. And I don't take that for granted. I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. I love you. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye.